They've told me I could be waiting years and years, 10 years, 20 years.
Briella, a mum of 7, is one of about 160,000 people in Australia waiting for public housing. She went on a waiting list 10 years ago.
How many properties would you say that you've seen?
Well over 60, 70 properties.
How many of those did you apply for?
All of them.
Unable to find a home, she's forced to pay $450 a week for this rundown property in southern Sydney.
I knew, looking at the picture, that no one was going to apply for that home because I wouldn't have done it myself too if I wasn't desperate, but I was. There's a lot of mould infestations and we call them pet rats.
You have rats in the house?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I have no choice but to live in it, or else the other option was to live in my car.
Briella has had to throw away her belongings because of the mould. Her position is so dire that most of her children live with their father, who is in a better financial position.
I had to give 4 of my children up because I just couldn't afford them anymore. There are days that I don't even know what to put on the table to feed. Makes me break down that I can't give my kids a home they deserve.
Mark Digattardi is the Chief Executive of the Community Housing Industry Association. He says 220,000 people in New South Wales alone are homeless, living in substandard housing or spending more than 30% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads.
It's an astonishing number. 220,000 people are looking each week to say, how can I sustain this? How can I make the best for my kids? How can I make the best for myself? How can I maintain my employment?
Older women, like 70-year-old Pauline, are particularly vulnerable. She's been on the wait list for public housing for almost 10 years.
I was caring for people in an aged care facility and I got sick myself and I had to leave work.
Pauline was living in a unit in Shell Harbour at the time. She quickly realised her sickness benefits and pension wouldn't cover the rent.
I just could not afford to stay there any longer. I was selling things to pay for where I wanted to live, and you can't do that. Nobody does that. You don't go to work to buy things to make you happy and comfortable, to have to sell later to keep a roof over your head.
When she had nothing left to sell, she became homeless.
I had done couch surfing, I'd stayed at friends' places, slept on the couch, slept in my car, stayed in this refuge that was just insane, insanely disgusting. And it's heartbreaking, demoralising, worrying, stressful.
For years, Pauline was shuttled between refuges and temporary housing until she was finally placed in a retirement home, paid for out of her pension and taken off the priority list.
I'm lonely. I'm not happy here. I'm grateful, but I'm not happy.
So you've gone back to the Department of Housing, and what have you said to them?
That the condition of the home is not livable, it's unhealthy, it's unsafe for my children. My youngest, my 11-month-old, has ended up in hospital twice.
Briella believes the mould has caused her baby's recent respiratory problems.
What do you think it's going to take for departments, for the government to listen to you?
I think it's going to take one of my babies for them to listen. Is it going to be a death in my family that is going to take them to look at me and my kids? Yeah. Sorry.
No, please don't say sorry. Please don't say sorry. Do you think they understand what this is doing to you? Do you think... No.
Please don't pretend we're not here. We are here. Most of us have worked, we've paid our taxes, we've done the right thing, and we're hoping and expecting the right thing to be done by us. Is anybody ever going to pay any attention? Does anybody care?
Oh, they're just such heartbreaking stories, and just 2 of tens of thousands right across the country. The federal government has pledged to build 30,000 affordable homes over the next 5 years, but that's not even going to touch the sides when you consider 160,000 people are currently on the wait list nationally. I grew up in Housing Commission houses, and I remember moving to Queensland and on the list for quite some time, and we had to live in a caravan for a while. When we finally did get into public housing, there wasn't even carpet on the floors. Not as terrible as Herbrella is experiencing, but no carpet, things half finished, but we felt like it was home for us. It was exciting.
And especially when there are kids involved and yeah, you just need a roof over your head. And to think that you've got someone living in a car with small children and she can't care for her family, that's just something you don't think is happening in Australia.
And the cost of living crisis is pushing people in lower to middle income brackets into that space as well, because they can't afford rents. There's a rental crisis as well.
Yeah, everywhere you look, it's like doors are shutting.
Yeah.
And that point at the end of that package, I thought was really crucial to let sink in. Like, we've worked all our lives, we've paid our taxes. These are not people who've done nothing, offered nothing, achieved nothing. And there's that stat, I don't know it precisely, but most people are 6 weeks away from homelessness.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe if we see ourselves as having that potential future, then maybe the politics around it changes. And then maybe that means government does different things. But I'm so glad you shone a light on that.
Well, yeah, and
the
Prime Minister, he grew up in public housing. He said
true.
that on when he won the election. It was a really proud moment for a lot of people. So hopefully they start putting a bit of money into this.